is an unfortunate reality that appearance your looks matters. Because people care about you famously, there's a book saying that it's 90% that matters in your first impression, and obviously that's your appearance. You are cut out of communities, you might lose job opportunities. Job includes some sort of human relation and sales, and you would lose out because your appearance is problematic. We think that to avoid all these tragedies and risks, it is the responsibility of the parents and educators to actively encourage children to behave because children do what they want. It's only the active encouragement that will achieve children to at least try to behave, or even if they don't know how to improve grooming later. Model. So we would tell them to care about how they look and how to make look better. So it's like, what kind of things are reasonable fashion? Like, well, all black is probably problematic, or how to do grooming. So, care about your odor, care about what kind of shampoo you use, care about your eyebrows, care about your beard, things like that, and how to do it. Because often, as a very introvert person, you might have issues about, where to search for this kind of information, what are the reasonable fashions, etc. And those kind of information that parents and educators would provide in numerous opportunities. What is active encouragement? So first of all, we would tell them to care about it, check if they have sufficient knowledge, scold them if they're not doing a decent job, and probably if if your child is already good at fashion, like probably the majority of children out there are following fashion because of their own reasons. We wouldn't actively encourage because they are already following the standards, so there's not much need of an active encouragement. But generally, so that children would follow these standards, and for children to be prepared with better information and make sure that they don't divert to other paths, the active encouragement would happen from early ages, both in middle school, etc. As a result, also thirdly, we won't deny bad appearance because you can't change that. We would try to tell them how to mitigate the bad appearance because often it's about having a modest standard, you making an effort to improve your appearance. Or it's that even if you have like a square kind of face, you can kind of change that as an accent, like or with a round eyeglass, or kind of changing the fashion around you. You can make it stylish and accent and make it look decent. There are various ways to change the framing of a problematic appearance into something that is fashionable and decent. And that's the knowledge, that's the active encouragement that we provide. What is the result of this? Children, regardless of the background or characteristics of parents, are more likely to know how to improve their fashion. Children will do grooming and invest in their clothes more, etc. This again would most likely mean for the good guys is the status quo, but for the people that are introverts or engineering kind of geeky guys, it means that they will do it because parents told them, or but even if they refuse to do, at least they remember 10 years later that, oh, my parent told me this fashion magazine is good, or this parent was referring to me to this Google site, etc., and know how to change their attitude and finally invest into their appearance. One more thing. Sorry, go on.
Like, just qualification, in your sort of program, you actually motivate the students to invest into sexual appearance, right?
I'm not sure if it's sexual, but yes, appearance. Same way as we would promote them to studies, same way as them to not do smartphone games, wherever, things like that. 3 arguments, if I have time. Firstly, why appearance is so important. Secondly, on why active instrument is necessary. Thirdly, on the benefits and harms. So, appearance. People, unfortunately, judge by how you look. It is a biological constraint that if your face is asymmetrical and has a good structure, you are likely to have attachment and preference over others that are not necessarily asymmetrical or other, I won't go into the physics, but are good or bad. It makes you feel that person is preferable, have a positive image, or, listen to their opinions, buy their opinions, or want to approach them. As a result of that, that benefits you in having more friends, better job opportunities, and even in jobs, be more good at creating human relations and sales, and that matters a lot because job is about being in a society and working cooperatively, and also about getting a good partner and an opportunity. Also, it can be beneficial even if you make a mistake, say sorry and get to not much scrutiny. But that's a good side of the thing. The flip side is more important. That if you have an issue with an appearance and are not making an effort, that creates huge stigma. Why is that the case? Because people, unfortunately, are not all of us, the majority of us don't really look good. But yet, we are making effort to at least look decent, not have odor, at least not, really smell or have, smugly hairs or things like that. And the fact that you're not doing that minimum standard of society means that, and you are even, and I am doing it, but this guy is doing it, proves that this person is incompetent, undisciplined, unresponsible, and does not care about other things that are necessary. It implies that this person probably is not going to do other necessary things as a societal, modest, or decent person, and that is an implication that inevitably, of course, because of how norms work. That is why it's not just the benefits, but the fact that you're not making the effort that puts stigma on you unnecessarily cuts you out of opportunities and relations that you could have had if you made the effort. No, thank you. And the other important thing is that life changes. As a nice geeky guy in high school enjoying your geeky community, it might be okay. But 10 years later, 20 years later, things change. So you might have to hunt for a job. Appearance matters. You might want to marry. Appearance matters. But at least you might need to jump into a new community or jump into a new friendship, and then you are like, hi, nice to meet you, and your first impression matters. Also, if you age, your appearance decays. There could be issues suddenly appearing about odor, face becoming more ugly or looking bad, and then suddenly you are forced to care about your appearance, invest in your appearance, and if you don't know how to engage with that, you have a lot of issues that I talked about. Secondly, on why active instrument is necessary. So children obviously do what they want. They don't want to do what they don't like or care about. And unfortunately, many children get away with not caring about their appearance because there are communities that don't care about their appearance. There are people, if you go in the introvert path, you kind of think of the identity that you're having a good passion is okay and go along with that. And that's kind of thing that because you don't know it and think it's okay, you just go on with that path without much knowledge. And because children can be stubborn, it is important to actively instill them before they get that mindset, or even if they have that mindset, hey, like you'll be okay right now, maybe, but at least know this, research this, care about this, be prepared about better glasses or fashion because you might have consequences. They might not listen now, but the fact that they know it later, would better be them, get them better later. It is a tragedy that a geeky guy now wants to become a debut in university and goes to Ichimaru-Q and chooses a crazy fashion because their parents didn't tell you what kind of fashion is appropriate. To prevent such tragedies from happening in the future, we propose.
Thank you for that speech. I call on the opposition to in opposition's case. Here.
Speech. Who will be affected in this motion? Who will be affected motion is not a geeky guys. Affected people is the people who have a little interest in appearance, however they have no confidence to go to change their appearances. And these people are likely to be excessive, and thus these people are negatively affected by this narrative. For those reasons, we're so proud to oppose. In my speech, I'll be go over firstly refutation, and secondly briefly touching on framing, and lastly moving on introducing two arguments from opposition bench. So firstly, rebuttals. But mainly, I think that rebuttals is all incorporated with our argument because their arguments directly touches ours. So firstly, they say that they cannot deny the bad appearances. I mean, the geeky guys, and at least they can mitigate their like bad attitudes towards the appearance. However, I think that's not happening because these art narratives go and drive people to be excessively care about the appearances, which I'll be explaining on my argument. However, the second point say is that they urge students to go to prepare the minimum things. However, I don't think that's happening because in schools and in classes, these people are likely to compete with each other and care more about appearances, and thus these competitions are likely to drive them to excessively care about their appearances. Thirdly, briefly touching on responses, that they say these people who are geeky guys are not likely to be stigmatized. However, I don't are stigmatized in society. However, I think that those people are unlikely to change their attitude still on proposition side. Why is this true? Because those people have prioritization over prioritize something over their appearances, right? For instance, they have interest in science, and then even if the narrative is spread, these people are unlikely to prioritize change their appearances in the first place. So those people affected in this motion is the people who have literary interests but do not make much effort in current society to change their appearances. That being said, briefly touching our senses, the counter narrative here is that appearance does not much matters, right? So in the society, and as the proposition talked about, the appearance does matters intuitive level. However, we can offset this narrative by saying that other factors other than appearances does matter in society. For instance, your study and careers or study histories does matter in society, and these narratives offset their negative influence about their psychological influences. So that being said, two arguments then. Firstly, I think that this narrative drive people to waste efforts, and moreover, these efforts are likely to go worse than status quo. So, second thing to talk about is that these people are likely to sacrifice their own careers and studies. So, firstly, moving on to my wasteful efforts, there are several 6 layers of analysis. Firstly, the reason one, I think the height and masculinity is hard to get by. So even if you make a lot of effort, height and masculinity are likely to change. Why is this true? Because those things are likely to be determined by genes, right? So some people inherently obese, for instance, and these people cannot change their appearance in the first place. The second reason then is that beauty standards are likely to change over a very short period of time, especially in the current society. And modern industry are competing with each other. Thus, modern agencies are likely to frequently change their introduce new style of beauties, right, to attract more audiences and more people. So, fourth reason then is that people are likely to seek a match to their standard of beauty. Moreover, everyone, if this narrative spread, these people and students are more likely to stick to their standard and everyone to do that. Everyone go doing that, right? So the likely scenario of this is that many people are likely to be the same appearances, and it is very hard to differentiate with you and others, right? So I think that like the consequence of this is that you have a negative result of, for instance, have difficulty in getting along with getting a good boyfriend, for instance, and thus there is no reward for you, right? The fifth reason then is that if parents teaches you and students have to cater for their parents' appearance like taste, right? For instance, the likely scenario of this is that parents' tastes are likely to be older fashions, and you are unlikely to get a good appearances. And last reason then is that these students are likely to go excessive, as I told you, is in classes. These people are likely to compete with each other. So the impact of this is threefold. Firstly, I think that not beautiful people are likely to be regarded as effortless people, right? So students want to get better about us intuitive level, so these people are likely to criticize others, right? So moreover, I think this is very bad because these criticism are likely to come from arbitrary factors that they cannot they cannot have control over. Moreover, the people have a different people's preferences are different with each other. However, if you introduce it in narrative, the narrative are likely to push the uniform measures, and this is very bad. No, thank you. And the second impact this is that they lose unconditional support from others, right? So parents and teachers are the only stakeholders who can give unconditional love and affection for students. So if you have a bad appearances, and even though that teachers and parents teach them that you are good students and you can do a lot of effort on studies. No, thank you. So this is unconditional love. So third impact then is that they have self issues, for instance. So if you look up the Instagram, you see a lot of beauty models, and you might want to lose your weight, and this is very unhealthy issues. So lastly then, briefly touching on the sacrifice of studies. I think the sacrificing of study is a very bad thing. And why is this happening is threefold. Firstly, you are likely to spend much money because, for instance, experience the surgery costs a lot of money. The second reason then is the study is easy to quit. I think that the decision of quitting study depends on you, and these people are likely to prioritize changing appearances. Third reason then is that changing appearance is so obsessive, right? Because appearance change over time. If your hairs grow every day, right? So if hairs grow, you can cut them, and you can change appearances over time, and you are likely to obsess with your appearances, right? So that the thing is, you're more likely to be obsessed with changing your appearance. What's the impact then? I think the main impact is twofold. Firstly, I think simply speaking, it's ruining your career. But moreover, if you have a good career, you can get a lot of money, right? With that money, you can change your appearance in the first place, right? In the future, we can get much better consequences in the long run. For all these reasons, even if you prioritize beautifulness of you, opposition side must win in the long run. For those reasons, Socrates goes.
Okay, thank you for that speech. I call on the speech here.
I want to do three things in my speech. First of all, what is the concrete impact out of the currently existing stigma upon the people who do not care about how you appear at all. Secondly, I want to talk about why teaching that kind of the fashion or physical appearances at the childhood is very uniquely important. Last of all, the overall person. But before moving on to that substantive, let me rebut what the previous speaker has said, right? Because today's opposition bench is more taking a super hypocritical stances. What they have said is they will conduct a counter-narrative that appearance is not important, but you have to value the people based on the other metrics such as study or things like that. I have two responses to that. First of all, how that kind of narrative is possible in the society, because as my partner only said, the caring the physical appearance is kind of the biological, reaction, and in any way, people will care about their appearances or things like that. And we think that even if they try to disseminate that kind of narrative, that doesn't work. But secondly, I cannot understand how that teaching that kind of narrative to the children leads the happiness to them, right? Because even if some children think that appearance is not important, maybe other people surrounding them will care, and they will take the disadvantages about in every life stage in their life, such as job hunting, such as marriages, things like that. I don't think that teaching that will bring the happiness to the children. That's why we think that counter-narrative doesn't make any sense. But secondly, they told about the excessive, the outside of the house, promote the excessive diet or unhealthy food or things like that. First of all, I think that constitution is unlikely because the form of the beauty is the diverse, and even if you are relatively fat or things like that, still you can find other kind of the beauty by themselves. So I think the excessive diet is not necessarily happening. But secondly, and more importantly,
That's why we think education is very important, because that kind of excessive diet is currently ongoing problem. Some people do not know how to make the effort in the right way, but we can teach that what kind of the healthy methodology to that children, and we think that we can prevent that kind of excessive diet from happening uniquely on the other side of the house. But lastly, they said the fashion trend is likely to change, so I think that teaching is not necessary. Of course, that's not correct, right? Yes, because the trend is likely to change. That's why we think that actively teaching is very important. You have to catch up with the trend. You have to catch up with the trend and flexibly change how you appear for the society. So I think that's a very important thing. So move on to the first argumentation about the concrete impact out of the stigma. As my partner said, currently society have a stigma upon the people who do not care about how you appear at all. What is the concrete impact about that kind of thing, right? As we know, the society puts a certain value upon how people physically appear. Anyway, we have a handsome guy, handsome actor, handsome the very beauty actress, and things like that. And at the place of job hunting, for example, the place to negotiation in the offices, consciously or unconsciously, the people care the physical appearances. If you do not care about the physical appearances at all, you don't care how you appear at all, maybe you continuously take the disadvantages and every single time that when you communicate with people. For example, job hunting, maybe other people if care that beauty, how you appear, maybe you will take the disadvantage and also get the opportunity to take a job. Maybe that when instead in the place of the marriages, maybe other people will care about how you make the effort upon your appearances or things like that. With that kind of losing the very precious opportunity in their life is a clear impact upon which is uniquely likely to happen on the other side of the house. Before we move on, yes.
Okay, but still, even though the beauty standard is important in this society, still many people feel guilty in judging the people based on the appearance. For example, in the European countries, so most of the companies is banned from requiring the applicants to have the real picture of the faces in the resume. So this is a
Sorry, it's wrong. Okay, move on to the second argumentation. Why child teaching that kind of beauty as the childhood is very important things, right? Okay, I have three reasons for that. Firstly, physical condition or physical confinement. They said, anyway, that limitation exists, masculine, for example, masculinity is decided by gene or things like that. We, to some extent, concede. That's why we think teaching them and to make some effort when childhood is very important, because that is relatively better for that metric. Maybe, their height or their obesity or their healthy body and caring about that kind of things when child is very important, because even if you care about that after you got adult, that's too late. For example, if you pop the acne continuously and your skin is hugely damaged, maybe recovering that skin after you get adult is difficult. So I think that carrying the acne when you were young is very, very important, right? But secondly is mental well. As my partner said, if some people do not care how you appear for so long, maybe changing that mindset and actually make some action is very difficult. For example, otaku often said, well, oshare is kind of embarrassing and I do not want to care the fashion, even when they notice the importance of that physical appearances and societal things like that. So I think that getting the used to the fashion is very important when childhood. So I think that teaching them when they are young is very important. Lastly, problem is that even if some people get incentive to change, that notice the importance of the beauty and get incentive to change how you appear. Problem is these kind of people do not know the right way to go and a good way to go, right? Some people, some very otaku and nerd or geek person, even if they got a strong incentive to care about how I appear, problem is they go wrong direction and they will wear the very crazy clothes, things like that. We think that is problematic. That is crucial because problem is that if they or maybe they can improve that kind of things day by day. But the problem is if they make some mistake at the first point, maybe they will get other people will get a bad first impression upon these kind of people, and overcoming that negative first impression is very, very difficult because it is often said that more than 90% of the impression is decided by the first impression. So I think not making the mistake at the first point is very, very important. And even under our side of the house, we uniquely prevents some kind of disadvantages at the job hunting, marriages, or making friends or things like that. That's why we think teaching that kind of things when young is particularly important. Lastly, overall comparison. Okay, let's let's care of the best case scenario of them. Maybe we concede that on their side of the house, some children notice the importance of the beauty by themselves, but the current problem is that some people do not know about the importance of the beauty at all, and that kind of people will continuously take the disadvantages. But we are on our side of the house, we can provide the opportunity, fairly distribute the opportunity to notice about the importance on beauty, and we can prevent some children who will take the disadvantages on our side of the house. For that reason, we take the debate.
For that speech, yeah, those that were the speech, you're here.
YouTube
まあ、もうちょっとここがある。
あ、僕動くだけでもいいですか？僕音声だけでもいいですか？
あ、どうぞ。とりあえず、後でやる。
あ、はい、わかりました。Okay, so begin please. Okay. My speech will start in 3, 2, 1, go. I'm going to do the three things in my speech. First of all, independent rebuttals, and second of all, dealing with the best case scenario and explaining the additional impact, and finally, weighing. Firstly, independent rebuttals. We think the very premise in this debate is that the appearance matters in the society. However, this premise is simply untrue because as the partner made an POI under the status quo because of the narrative that people should not judge the person by their appearance. There are some examples. For example, in some countries, they banning the putting the picture on the job applicant form, and these kind of things is actually currently happening, right? This is because education provides a counter narrative that people should not be judged by the appearance. However, in their side of the house, simply since these kind of the narrative will going to significantly decrease, these kind of the counter narrative decreases, and this will rather causes some kind of problems. Secondly, they didn't explain the plan in the first place. Two responses here. First of all, their side of the house never explained why the educators and the teachers are going, parents are going to teach them correctly, right? Because there is no mechanism for that. As my first speaker clearly explained to you, as the model of the beauty standard gradually changes as time passes, it is the parents and the educators is not the best actor to teach them in the first place. They might say that, or they may call external teachers sometimes. However, this kind of thing is far from the active encouraging because they cannot teach them every day. So that's why in their side of the house, the teachers and parents maybe sometimes teaches in a bad manner, and this is far from the correctness. Sometimes it causes a severe harm. Finally, they never explain how the people can be actually beautiful after they're being taught, right? They never explained any kind of a mechanism why the people will be able to become actually beautiful after the teaching. For example, under the status quo, that naturally the human faces are different. Even if some people make efforts, maybe some of the people cannot reach to the higher top class of the people, right? When that happens, since the job hunting and many of the marrying and these kind of things is a comparative one, they won't be able to actually achieve their own goal, right? So because of these three kind of flaws, their argument doesn't stand in the first place. Next, I'm going to explain that dealing with the best case scenario. We think that even in the best case scenario, some of the people are going to fail because, for example, a cosmetic product doesn't agree with you because of some kind of an allergy or simply it is costly. They won't be able to actually follow the teachers and the parents' instructions. In these kind of cases, this causes a severe harm compared to outside of the house. This is because simply the teachers and sometimes does not know the actual reason behind that. For example, it doesn't know that whether the cosmetic products agree with you and so on. And even if they do know that, since they want to avoid the criticism by the people. For example, if the people's appearance doesn't actually improve, maybe the parents and teachers will be criticized since their instruction is bad also. No, thank you. So as a result, they have the pressure to do so. Because of this kind of pressure, they are more likely to blame the responsibility on the children. This has caused a serious harm to those who won't be able to follow the actual instruction and become beautiful, as they says, right? First harm is that they are going to have the severe criticism and a bad image from the other classmates and the people in the society.
the delta here is that in our side of the house, since the teachers and the parents say that we should not care about their parents and so on, so that's why this kind of blaming or the criticism is much less compared to their side of the house. However, their side of the house, every day the teachers and the parents are going to say that appearance is important. As a result, this kind of possibility of blaming and take the brunt of being criticized is going to severely increases. Secondly, even if this kind of the blaming does not exist in the first place, they will be internalized because they think that they're going to fail because they understand that they cannot actually follow the instruction of the teachers and the parents. So that's why this is very helpful. The two impacts here. First of all, they're going to have the mental illnesses because of these kind of things. Because they will be internalized and they cannot change even if they try to make effort. This is far from what they desire in the first place. Second of all, even if they can achieve that kind of things, actually the fact that the teachers and blame you at the early age of their life are going to remain in the future. This is irreversibility and this is important.
So how does the law stop you from not liking a person with an audio issue? It's fine to throw a model. At least tell us how it works.
Sorry, I cannot understand, so please stay in the next speech. Finally, wings. Why our side of the house irreversibility is important. Their side of the house kept on saying that one opportunity, that first impression is important. However, they never explain why that first impression in the early stage is important, right? As my first speaker explained, they have many opportunities, for example, after entering university, they have many opportunities to notice that their appearance might be important. However, they never explain why that's, for example, the 3 years or 4 years are so significant that it changes, the alters in every life in our first place. However, compared to that, what the opposition side proposed to you is that the kind of harm that they are being criticized and by the teachers and the last people that they protect you. Because the understaffed school, the parents and these kind of people has the unconditional love on the children. However, even these kind of people are going to criticize and this kind of thing at the early stages, for example, adolescent years, are going to severe mentally and that kind of the traumatic experiences remain at the future. This is going to the less confidence for them and this can also decrease their more opportunity, right? When it comes to the irreversibility, it is very okay for them to actually change their appearance after that. They might have that kind of similar opportunities. For example, if they go to the university and notice that they should change their appearances and they can make their girlfriend and boyfriend and some kind of the partners after going to the university, right? So that's why, compared to that, the traumatic experiences at the early stages does not actually disappear in the first place. And these kind of the people who cannot actually change their appearance even if they follow that instruction is very marginalized people and what these kind of the susceptible people should be protected in the first place. So I have still time, so I will make the additional rebuttal to that side of the house. Firstly, they never explained why actually children are going to follow the instruction of obediently follow the instruction of the teachers, right? As my person said, like there's some kind of they themselves are more interested in mathematics, so they don't want to actually follow the instruction for that. These kind of people won't be helped in their side of the house, so actually this is no delta. Secondly, they said that in the worst case scenario, they said that they're going to just remembering what the teacher said is important. However, this has no delta because just remembering, even in our side of house, just kind of remembering can exist. For example, reading the magazine or seeing the advertisement at the Facebook or the Instagram, and these kind of things can remain at the minds, right? So that's why in the worst case scenario, they have no delta. Even in the best case scenario, though, they have no mechanism why people can actually beautiful or why people can actually follow and why that instruction in the first place is correct.
Thank you for that speech.
違います。ごめんなさい。
Your speech here.
There are many plausible claims from opposition regarding the problem of lookism, but they didn't really explain how they are able to remove the lookism or cherish or priority of the appearance under their side of the house. Still, there's a fashion model. Still, there's an actor or actress that pushes some sort of standard of the decent appearance. Also, the problem with the excessive diet or excessive competition about appearance is caused by not education, but caused by the external factor, maybe like toxic advertisement seen on the internet or like that kind of stuff. They didn't really explain how they are able to defend their paradigm because all the problem of their side of the house is a general problem of the lookism, not about the teacher or the school teaching it. We say, at least on our side of the house, those people who cannot access to the information or like know or like feel the necessity to invest the parents, which may be or like likely to be cherished in the society in the future, we say our side provides tangible benefit for them. I'll look at two issues. Firstly, I'll deal with the opposition problem. Is this really exclusive, or even if that kind of problem actually existing, like why we are able to better deal with it. Secondly, I'll talk about the importance of the education to encourage the importance to investment in the physical appearance and why that is essential. So firstly, on the problem. Now, we have several things from the opposition. Firstly, that this leads to the excessive the care for their parents, that this is going to create some sort of uniform standard of the beauty. But they didn't explain how their paradigm is going to change that. Right? They're still unconscious, the kind of notion of the uniform kind of beauty or the appearance. When we see the fashion model, kind of there's a look is similar like this of the kind of looking no a mustache or having a better suited jacket or etc. Right? After the actress is some sort of uniform of appearance, and also there's some sort of pressure to not to be overweighted or etc. etc. They didn't explain how this is going to change, right? And this is caused by the corporation who have a profit incentive. Corporations will to cater to the current dominant norm, right? Because this is the easiest way to get money, easiest way to cater to the general public. That's why they do not have that this very strong incentive to excessively break away the current standard of the appearance. So I don't understand why they are going to change that. Then they said, this is going to lead to excessive investment of time and money, which leads to the deprioritization of the study, etc. Right? Firstly, obviously, we are going to teach the study and the investment appearance both on our side of the house, and we don't think that this is going to be excessive spending, right? Because Prime Minister already set up this is going to be a reasonable spending, right? It's exaggeration to say that they are going to spend all the money all the time, right? Maybe you will take just a few minutes to shave your face, mustache, taking the skincare in the morning. I don't think why this leads to the excessive deprioritization of the study in the first place. Furthermore, if they said that this is going to deprioritization of study, then probably they cannot teach a PE class or they cannot teach a moral education because this is going to deprioritization of study. As long as this is necessary for a survival in the society, we think it's worth to be taught in the society. Moreover, we say that when they said that the excessive competition is going to happen by this kind of education, I don't think it's mutually exclusive because as I said already in my introduction, this is caused by the toxic corporate narrative that's created by mainly corporation. For example, because that their characterization is that these people, affected children, are the ones who have the kind of slight interest in investing in appearance. Those people have the incentive to search some sort of diet product or search on the magazine. Probably these people are likely to exposed to that kind of information. Maybe the excessive the advertisement that shows that unless you lose weight, you are going to fail in the future. We think in that kind of circumstances, this is possible or even more likely on the opposition side as well, right? This is caused by the external factor. On our side of the house, yes, there's that kind of external factor, but at least on our side of the house, the teacher or parents are going to teach more reasonable and healthier way of the diet. Maybe, for example, having the reasonable the amount of exercise instead of don't eat dinners to lose weight, right? We think on our side of the house we can better deal with that kind of excessive pressure on our side of the house, or at least this is not mutually exclusive. Lastly, mental health of children are going to feel kind of denied when their parents encourage something, right? Firstly, as Prime Minister already set up, this policy is not going to directly deny your appearance itself. It just says that in order to look better, you should wear more suited jacket, you should pay attention to skincare, etc. Right? But furthermore, we say if we follow their logic, we cannot teach anything, right? Because if we, for example, encourage people to invest mathematics or English, maybe who are not that people who kind of hate mathematics feel I'm kind of denied because I do not have mathematics ability. People, if we teach PE class, then people who cannot physically capable feel, oh, I'm denied because I cannot run fast. So I don't understand why they are able to defend education if we follow their logic. So overall, we believe that all the problem is that general problem of the lookism. They didn't really explain why this is going to be substantially caused by this policy, or at least solved under opposition paradigm. So onto my to our substantive, right? So we already told you that this is important for the school and teachers to teach from the childhood or from the young days, because of the kind of thing is it really depends on the background of the children. Now, several responses from the opposition side. Firstly, that this knowledge of the parents and the educator is going to be old-fashioned, right? I don't really care. Firstly, the things like the shaving mustache or like wearing the like best-suited jacket doesn't require. It's not that different among the generation, right? Furthermore, our education tells you that you have to catch up with the current trend, as Prime Minister already set up, right? You should constantly be like kind of like studying the fashion. Okay, actually, sure.
Okay, just shaving does not make you pass the job hunting, right? In order to get the job, you have to be very beautiful, right? So that's why in your side of a house, why can you say that this just shaving are going to reach to the better job?
Just because it's not perfect, it's not a reason to not teach anything, right? And furthermore, we believe in that sense that this is important. And then they said, that this is not right. This policy is not necessary as long as society is gradually changing. But even if, for example, the EU countries like abolish the like photos on the like resume, it doesn't mean that there's no job interview. Actually, there's a job interview. You can screen by the some sort of appearance factor as well. Furthermore, like this corporation don't explain why you are hired or why you are fired, not fired. So it's important. Also, it's not only about the job application. Like after you enter a company, like your promotion as a salesperson really depends on your first impression as an appearance or like in the reception. That if you are like good looking, you are more likely to be told with a lot of people. This leads to more connection. So all in all, we believe that at best, what they said is that this policy may not be perfect. It's not a reason to not teach anything. We are able to provide better future and expanded choice for a particular group of children. Therefore, we propose.
Okay, last speech and following opposition whip. You're here to oppose those. Thank you for that speech. Following opposition reply to good opposition's case. You're here.
Okay, start in 3, 2, 1, go. What the opposition side proposed in this debate is the existence of the counter-narrative. Under the status quo, we can see that Instagram exists. However, as long as the teachers and parents are going to protect you, saying that the appearance is not important, these kind of some of the people will be helped, and there's a more diverse standards of some kind of the value in their lives. So that's why pro-opposition opposes this debate. So let's check our stance from the opposition side. What we said is that changing the appearance in the first place is risky because they are more likely to be excessive. Firstly, even there is no counter narrative that the parents and everyone in the society are going to say that let's change the appearance. Secondly, that everyone in the classmates are doing so. Some of the people are going to rush to that and drive into the changing the appearance. At this time, they said that this is less likely. However, they never explained the mechanism in the first place. As a result of this, these kind of things are going to the discriminative actions. For example, the vulnerable people who does not agree with the cosmetic product and they cannot change their appearance, or they cannot win even if they make equals, are going to be marginalized in their side of the house. However, in our side of the house, since the existence of the counter narrative saying that appearance is not important and they will be internalized from the very young ages, these are going to upset the narrative that the media is going to currently have and encourage them to change their appearances. So that's why this is very impactful. Two impacts here. Firstly, the people who are continuously exposed to the narrative are going to get the mental harm because they cannot change their appearances. However, they will be criticized by the people or the pressure from the teachers and the parents who wants their children to become beautiful. Secondly, even more, in our side of the house can attain their goals, right? Because as my first speaker and whip speaker said, they study more and gaining good salary and having a good cosmetic product after life, it can be achieved very beneficial in the first place. However, what they have said in this debate is actually, cannot win in this debate because of three reasons. First of all, their premise is simply untrue. Two things. First of all, they said that there is a currently variety of the beauty standards. However, this is not true. As my web speaker said, there's a famous some kind of a role model that everyone going to follow that. Secondly, even if that is not true, if the teacher, maybe the teacher's educational content are the same among schools, so that's why every school are going to teach the exact same thing in the elementary school, because the educational content will be decided by the bureaucrats. And secondly, under the status quo, because of the counter-narrative existence, there will be many people who are feeling the guilty of judging a person by their appearance. For example, if the children speak ill of others because of their appearances, they will be severely scolded. These kind of things is uniquely achieved in outsider house, however decreases in their outsider house. Secondly, they have no mechanism about the plan, right? First of all, they never said how they are going to teach, right? Because the parents does not know the actual current trend or what is actually beautiful in the first place, because the 60 and 60-year parents, right? And second of all, how the teachers are going to teach them moderately, right? At this point, their cyber house said that just they teach that the shaving and the moustache is enough. This is moderate. However, if they say that, they are going to decrease their own impacts, right? Because they said that because their goal is going to the good, having the good opportunity or getting married because of the appearance, right? There are too many people who just shaving their even under status quo. So that's why they cannot attain their own goal in the first place, right? Without explaining these kind of mechanisms. So that's why what they have said is actually cannot stand in the first place. Finally, the weighing impacts. They said that the one opportunity is very important. However, we win in terms of the irreversibility. This is because if they get the severe and mental harm at the traumatic experience at the younger ages, they are going to more likely to remain in the future. And that kind of thing cannot be changed in any other ways, because the past cannot be changed under such law, right? However, in terms of the appearances, even if they might have some kind of the chances to get married in the early stages. However, at least they can find another person after life or going to the good companies after life, after 10 years, right? So that's why this, in terms of the irreversibility, we win. Since the metric is only irreversibility in this debate, so that's why we win this debate.
Okay, this was speech. All our government replied. Debate, you're here.
I'll ask two questions. Firstly, would norm appearance continue to be important as a norm? Basically, does their model work? Secondly, which side benefits more children? So, we've told you that it is a biological constraint that you are attracted to certain forms of appearances, and also that it's not that it's you look good, you get benefit, but it's rather that because majority of people don't necessarily look good, we are making efforts to be decent, and the fact that you're not making the decent standard, or at least making that effort, has a lot of implications that put labels of you being undisciplined, irresponsible, not caring about minimum standards. They had no response to this. What they said is that there's a negative model to change the norm, that skills matter. Sure, how? How do you change norms? They said, discrimination is prohibited. Sure, how do you stop me from not liking that smell? I even gave a POI, no response. I gave it in interviews, the job application form might not have a screenshot, but in interviews, you can still kick people out, and you don't have to explain why people are kicked out. That's why laws exist, but in reality, that's not really effective. And they haven't told us how that changes the people's minds, and the problem is, how do people change minds? And that's why it's the norm of appearance mattering that will continue to exist. With that in mind, second issue. So, our story is simple. If you don't know it, and you're not told to care about it, you have a strategy of going to Ichimaru-Q and doing it right at non-wrong fashion and having a disastrous university debut or other things. Or that you realize later, when you want to marry, you need to jump into a new community, you have to job hunt, you have to change jobs, you have to give up, comfortable IT geek company and have to go to a bit more formal company. There's a sudden need of it. And if you at least know about it, you are able to prevent disasters. And that was the majority. And we told you why that is the case, because children generally follow parents if they're actively told. And also because, life does change. It's very rare that people continue to be in the same comfortable echo chamber for, 50, 60 years. It's practically impossible. And those scenarios were simply not engaged by opposition. It just exists. If you teach, they're prepared, they get happy. That's it. So what did they tell you? So first of all, they said that there's going to be excessive fashion and they're going to waste their time, be in a paranoia, things like that. They didn't tell you why it happens from this education. At least from Elo and DLO, they said that it will happen, not sure why. Upweb comes up with a new argument about how it's similar to new, cram school, competition in Korea, etc. Maybe, again, new, but the important thing is that's still happening from the norm. They said that the norm demands parents and teachers to do it, and that's simply that. The norm, the problem still exists, and that's why it's still better that you try to tell them how to maneuver that thing, but also it contradicts with them saying that if you ban, you solve the norm, but they're saying that the norm exists and the excess thing happens, which is true. They also said competition. But I will refute it. Fashions are not numerical. There are different segments and styles, and there's coexistence of different characteristics, and that was not further responded. They said some other issues might exist, or some not be cosmetics. Sure, but that's a reason to try. But also, that's a very minor case. That does not deny the fact that generally we should teach children, and we secure the majority. They said that all people teaching is bad. Maybe, but I told you, and they can see that Instagram magazines exist. We're just telling you how to search, how to learn. Friends might tell you, and that exactly was not responded. And lastly, they said that you can't be good looking. But again, they missed the nuance. It's not that, there is a reality that if you look, you get hired. But the more problematic thing is, you go to a job interview, and your beard is shaved, but you still have a bit, or hair is off. And that has a lot of implications, and that has consequences. In your marriage, in your new meeting with someone, or again, a job interview. And that's what we prevent by actively saying that, hey, your beard has an issue. Hey, why don't you groom your hair? And that's how we don't go to Ichimaru without